Welcome to the weekly 30/30 ASX trading list. These are the 30 best momentum companies over the quarter, as well as this week's 30 launchpad stocks, the ones that are fueled up and ready to run. This 30/30 list has been screened by Gary Glover, who's picked out his favourite charts for the week. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm great, Chris. How you going?
Well, this list, I think it echoes somewhat of your report that we went through on Tuesday, your weekly report, and you highlighted gold stocks and uraniums as coming out consistently in that report. Are there any echoes in this week's report?
Yeah, no, definitely. So, yeah, we're definitely seeing lots of gold and lots of, or probably a ton of gold stocks in both the momentum and the high velocity list. And yeah, we're seeing a few uranium stocks in both lists as well. Obviously, there's a lot less uranium stocks on the board, a lot more gold stocks. But yeah, definitely we're littered with gold stocks here, these lists here today. So, yeah. But,
well, you started off with the momentum list, right? And you've worked through those to see those that are pushing the market higher. Were there uranium and gold stocks in that list too?
Yeah, there was, obviously a few sort of miners in there, but yeah, I think there was definitely, there was just a ton of gold stocks there, and a few of the uranium stocks made the list as well, which are big enough, I guess you might say. But I noticed that, the first one there, the number 2 ranked stock there, Sunrise there, that was on that made the high velocity list there a couple of weeks back. And it's interesting how that velocity there really kicked on. And so it's really just gone, I think about the impressive part there is that, gone sideways in this period, gone sideways in this period as well, and popped out the range here. So, if you're doing the old Davis box, sort of just buying new highs, breakouts there. We've been a few little triggers in there, but yeah, that's definitely got some momentum. Starting to see volume starting to drop off here now. But yeah, interesting that was on our velocity list there. I think number 3 on the list as well was Dacian Gold was also on our list there a couple of weeks back as well. So although smaller, it has sort of kept going. The other one, I'm not sure Zimplats was on the list there, but this one what jumped out to me here, Chris, was the classic VCP. So we had a little pullback here, rallied back up to the high, pulled back again, rallied up again, nice little short pullback there. Once we started to sort of see, okay, this doesn't want to go down, once it punches through the top, then it's really gone for a quick run here. So, look at those volumes as well. And that, once we see the price pullback tightening up, good volume there, get a move. It's a bit of a hard one to trade here, but the price pattern's one of those ones you can follow, over and over again. So those are sort of the 3 that jumped out, the top 3. I think moving further down the line, I saw the Allkem, AKE was one that I actually liked. It's funny, I saw this before today, and I thought, well, this looks like a little wedge in here. So we've had a pretty nice little run here. See how we've run up nice and tight, kind of little A, B, C in here as well. So and this is pretty big volume. Look at those big volume bars there, massive. A little bit of selling in there, of course, but then the volume lightened off into here. Although we didn't get a big volume trigger there the other day, I just thought this is a little tight pattern. That's usually the pattern where you get, this is like a 4th wave for me. So you normally get a bit of a new high here. So unfortunately, we've already gone there. So it's probably too late. But interesting little patterns. And when you sort of see them running hot and have these little tight, we talk about these little tight pullbacks all the time, but those are the ones that you want to see. I think, what's it? You were talking about MGX there, see how that, set on top of that previous high there. Then we talked about this actually a couple of weeks ago. I think it was on our high velocity list there, but that was, again, it pulled back here, but it was actually holding up quite nicely. And look at that volume there. Again, when you sort of start to sort of weaken, and then really you don't move much lower, and there's no sort of selling coming in here, just shows you here this whole period here, it's just no selling volume. No one's actually selling here.
So despite the rally, and it's coming back up after being down for months, the sellers aren't coming back in.
Yeah. So when you see a good little rally, and then you go sideways and drift, and there's no volume there, that's a good sign. So although we're not sort of seeing big volumes here, just shows you that no one was selling the stock through the period here, that the sellers were struggling to push this down here, even in the face of what was been quite a big move for the stock. So, yeah, some interesting was popped out there. It's not massive volume there, but compared to the,
that congestion.
Yeah. So talking what, 1 million shares here now we're what, 6 million. So all these days here are all tiny. We trade what, 6 times the previous day. That's a definite sign here. So yeah, look, I don't know how far this goes here. Obviously, with the volumes getting lighter here, but when they consolidate and don't go down, you definitely got to respect that. AVZ was the other one that I thought was interesting here. This correction is a little large, but it's probably the same size as the previous correction. But probably what's interesting here is that the pullback has just come back and sat on top of that high. That's like an old sort of high there. So you might even call this a little VCP. That's a pullback, short. Each pullback's getting narrower and narrower. Then you punch through it. That volume there might have been a bit of a giveaway too. Look at that volume there. After you have, it's the thing about these VCP patterns. All you're doing is just measuring the pullback. Each one getting smaller and smaller, and then you're looking for like a little trigger here. So normally you want to sort of go above previous high, but something like that stands out. That volume bar stands out massively. So it's just showing some commitment in the buying there.
So could that be a good catalyst to enter with a decent risk reward trade there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you just don't know the upside in these things. When I used to sort of think things like these sort of triangles, that used to be my sort of, that was say $1 down to 65 cents. That's like a 35-cent triangle. So that was, if I was looking at that, say like that was like, some sort of a triangle there, my target would be around at 35 cents, which is what's it got to, 135. So it's funny how that's where it's got to, measured move here and pull back here, but this has come back here. You might say there's this light volume here, and then all of a sudden it's bounced off the previous high here. So, it's giving you come all the way back here to the old high. No reason why this can't go to a new high again. So, yeah, interesting there. And the other one was the one that I featured Paladin and Bannerman actually last week. I think it was there. They were looking pretty robust there last Friday. They had a big jump up there and good volume as well. So had a little shakeout there, come back and fill that gap, and then we've gone here. So this looks pretty positive. There's a bit of a big sideways consolidation. I think on our weekly chart there, looks reasonably robust as well. So no reason in this environment why we can't get a new high there. So those are the ones that sort of stood out to me on the momentum list. Those are the stocks that are strongest for the last quarter here. And then, if we look at the stocks that are moving here for the weekly, so I think that Paladin is in the, again, I think 2 weeks in a row, it's on the high velocity. So basically it's had a pretty good move the last couple of weeks. There's a few in there. I mean, I think we saw, I think Resolute was in there as well. It's had a bit of a move. It's a bit of a small minus. The volume's a little tiny for mine, so it's not one that I personally would trade. But the one that I actually have traded, which is I think I've mentioned a few times before, was the Regis Resources there. I just sort of good volume down here, exhaustive, starting to build. Again, we sort of see how this is sort of squared off in here. I love the fact this is our 50-day moving average, the red line. I like to sort of see consolidation above that. One of the old trading phrases which I've got written on my wall is that nothing good happens below the 50-day moving average. So, and I thought about actually incorporating in 50. You only go long stocks that are above the 50-day moving average. That would actually keep you out of a lot of the riskier trades. So I haven't stuck to that, but I like the idea of that. I probably, typically my better trades tend to be above the, come entry around the 50-day moving average. And when you actually do get a bit of a pullback to around the 50-day moving average after you've actually built something, if you get a nice little VCP pattern or a little tightening there that sits on a 50-day moving average, that can be quite powerful. So look how, the volume's just really tightened up in here. So, and then we got a bit of a trigger there. So this looks pretty positive there. I think if you look at the weekly on this as well, like a lot of these gold stocks here, I mean, they've come out of basis here. We talked about, lower high, lower high, lower high. So once we break above a lower high, which we've done there, then we've had a little sideways consolidation, a little light volume in there. I'll look at a weekly, and then nice bullish bar here on the weekly as well. So that looks pretty positive there. But there's a ton of gold stocks there. We've looked through a lot of them. There's so many gold stocks on this list here. So I think what was down 29 was AngloGold. So again, this is like a bit of a pullback here, pretty light volume, probably a little liquid for me, but all this has done is what's come back and set on top of the previous high. Looks pretty good. I mean, yeah, if you go through, I mean, there's so many. I think there's, Santa Barbara was in there, Gold Road was in there, Perseus was in the list, Musgrave, another gold, De Grey is in the list there as well. So we just gold. So you just got to kind of pick through your gold stocks here. There's sort of even Evolution was on the list as well. So again, sort of starting to move up here. Again, these are all pretty decent sort of moves here. So we've had a pretty deep pullback, high low, starting to build here. Yeah, just definitely a lot of the gold stocks are really starting to get moving here. And I think everyone's talking about the gold chart. Obviously, in the daily, they would sort of see how prices, again, a little VCP tightening up and a little bit of a spike. So that's pretty positive. But everyone's talking about this cup and handle here. So all the gold traders are okay, we've gone up to this high here, possible sort of handle here. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but that's something that a lot of traders are talking about out there. So just something to be mindful of.
That's one pattern that William O'Neill used a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So it's sort of a breakout pattern there, sort of strongest sort of stock sort of pattern. So it's sort of something that definitely you sort of see among leadership groups and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's it's pretty bullish price action. I mean, I know Northern Star was one that I featured back there previously. But yeah, again, that's pretty robust here as well. So it's really showing some strength here. So yeah, other stocks in your high velocity there that caught my eye. That Maas group is sort of one stock that I've sort of followed for a while here, just because it's sort of got some pretty strong fundamental fillers. But again, this is a big VCP pattern here on a weekly. But we haven't actually lower high. So we really want to sort of see a breakout of high, but it's interesting here that the whole thing's tightening up. Quite a new company, but company and growing pretty quickly.
So that's another thing that both Mark Minervini and William O'Neill looked at, wasn't it? New IPOs and the behaviour of the chart in the first year or 18 months, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So I don't know if this one, get back, MGH. So you can see that's where it sort of started there, had a bit of a pop. Congestion. See how congested for a while there. So congested for 3 months, and then eventually we broke out. See it pop through there. When you see some volume coming through, popping out here on good volume like that, after that's the sort of thing that's what they're looking for. So you don't want to buy the IPOs off the bat. You want to see them trade for a few months, consolidate. I often find they go hot, then they come back and retest the lows, then they can go, or they can just sort of get into this sideways grind for a while, and then they pierce through the upside there. But if you're patient, you wait for that stock to come through here. What are you talking about there? $2.80. So it got all the way to $6. That's a fair move. That's we're only talking about 3 months. So yeah, it's a classic sort of pattern there. But now we're sort of, what's this here? I mean, that's June 21 here. So we might go a full, potentially almost a full year going sideways here. So this is definitely one to sort of keep an eye on there, because it is a growth stock. Now we're sort of still going sideways again. Maybe this will grind lower here. But yeah, it's definitely one to sort of keep on the radar there. The other one on the list there I saw was Select Harvest, just because it's in that food. Definitely the food thematic is sort of being, people are talking about again. So again, we're sort of lower high. So now we've actually broken above first lower high here. Okay, so we probably want to see, consolidation here, a bit of a shakeout. Maybe come back to the 50-day moving average, something like that. But this is definitely one that's on my radar here now, just because, and then the volumes are up as well. And because the food thematic is actually one that's getting a bit of chat too. On the weekly is a reasonable sort of level there around as well. So for me, I've just looked at this one here, just sort of caught my eye. So I'll just be watching this closely there. Another one I saw in there was CHN. Just again, this is a big downward consolidation, but so far we haven't broken above the swing high yet. So volumes are sort of getting lighter too. See how the volumes are sort of heavier up here, getting lighter and lighter, getting skinnier and skinnier here. So we're waiting for a change of character at the moment. So that hasn't occurred here, but definitely went on my list sort of to keep an eye on. So that was pretty much it. I think something like might have been Betmakers was something similar. Again, this has been trending down for quite a while here. Volume is starting to pick up a little bit near the bottom here, but again, we still haven't broken, So this is the whole idea of sort of waiting for a bit of a jump up, get above the 50-moving average, then come back, touch it. The new sort of entrance to markets will probably try and jump in early, Chris. They'll try and trade these things here. But if you can be patient, wait for the first, wait for a break of a high, then wait for the first high low. It's a real patience game, but
can often pay off.
Yeah, if you can just train yourself to sort of wait for that setup here. I mean, Minervini calls it the VCP. I mean, other guys have different sort of they give it different names and stuff there. I use a bit of Elliott wave, so I like to see a new high. And one of the guys I traded with years ago was he liked to see two new highs before a change of character. But really waiting for that first high low as well is an obvious thing as well. But I want to see a change of character here. So if we can train ourselves to do that, then we'll keep ourselves out of trouble. So we're seeing here all these we're seeing so many of these high velocity stocks in the last month or so, the ones that actually have those big jumps there. 3 or 4 weeks later, they're on the quarterly momentum as being the strongest momentum. So we're showing it every week that these early triggers, a lot of, not all of them, obviously some are going to fail here, but a lot of these keep going up and then go on to the and then the strongest stocks, they can stay strong for a long, long time. We've seen it with the lithium and coal and things like that. So so these trends can run a lot further than everyone thinks here. So good stuff. Your list, Chris.
Well, it's good to hear that it's working and sort of checking it externally, because it's always been something we've looked at and thought, well, hang on, there's that compression first that happens before they break out, and this is something that you're consistently surfacing in your own weekly reports. So it's good to kind of circle back and loop in on it, and hopefully get the head start and put it on the watch list like you were doing. You were talking about the Betmakers and the Chalice. They're not looking right just yet, but they're the ones that you keep on your watch list and keep coming back to before you trade, is it?
That's right, yeah. So they just so I'm waiting for a change of character there. So they're obviously tightening up, but we haven't made a new high in any of those stocks yet. So we should not be going near them, But once there's a change of character, then we we take out a swing high. Then that's when they sort of come on our radar. So so.
It's a good short list to work through, and it's good to have you working through the charts to highlight where it's good, where the volume's constructive, and then also where the anomalies are. And that's been great over the last couple of weeks. You've really been good at pointing out those and saying it looks good, but if you dig down a layer or two deeper, there's actually cause for concern. So thank you for those insights, Gary, and we look forward to another update. Probably not throughout Easter, but maybe later next week.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Gary.